Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to our web series, Are You There? Engaging Customers Beyond the Showroom. I'm David Stringer, CEO of Insignia. I'm so glad you are tuning in. So we got a special show today. We've got some great guests that will join us in just a few minutes. And as I did last week, we got great feedback again from our audience, our dealer audience. And we're so appreciative of all the comments and even the comments that keep going after the live cast is over. We've got great interaction going that is even happening off of all of the streaming and all of that stuff. So we really appreciate that. So as in last week, I'm going to do a little bit of a roundtable type of sort of here's where we are and some best practice discussion. And then we will bring our guests on to the show and we will continue on from there. So let's see, I'm trying to get all this technical stuff working. So one thing, before I get rolling in here, I had my notes and everything and I almost rolled over it. We tried something a little bit different today where we set up some events that the live cast will then broadcast through. Cameron Corcoran, our chief technical person, figured that stuff out. And so we are really pleased with that. So that's how you should be seeing that today. And we're going to continue to do that. One of the important pieces is if you can, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you will get those notifications when we go live. And you'll also be introduced to all the content we have on our YouTube channel. And of course, we want you to like our Facebook page because that's how we can interact on a daily basis. So thank you for all those who have liked and shared and also those have subscribed. So if you are on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. All right, so let's get into some stuff. So that little tiny eye chart that's hard to see, what I want you to see is the macro and that yellow space up at the top. And so here I can zoom it in. Right up here is where we hit an all-time high for the year. So I think I can circle it. There we go, right by our symbol. So all-time high in views for the year for our system. And what that's telling us is that the usage of the system, as you can see from year to date, so this is the snapshot from the year to date, started off the year pretty flat, started to increase in March, or actually that was February, which was a great car month. And then wham, you can see the dip, and then we've come up the other side. And what we were excited to see is that we set an all-time high in views for the year last Friday. So May 22nd was the all-time high. So that's pretty cool. And that just shows how we are continuing to move through this process and come out the other side, and car sales are continuing to pick up. So we're pretty pleased with that and what that says. Next, like I was saying, let's get back over here. Like I was saying, we're getting great interaction from our Facebook fans, and I'm gonna zoom this in. So Kevin from Bomarito posted this on his Facebook page. I want you to pay particularly attention to the Facebook post on their Facebook page where they are showing a great display of vehicle personalization items, as well as that beautiful kiosk. Am I doing a shameless pitch for our kiosks? Absolutely. And let's talk about why a kiosk makes sense right here and right now in the scenario that we're at. So again, there we go. That's a much better view of it. So first and foremost, kiosks are one of those things that come and go in favor in the dealership. Over the years, we've seen a number of different kiosks from manufacturers, from vendors. I mean, they are something that floats in and out of dealerships all the time. So we have always offered them as something that's available, and it's not a key driver of the process for vehicle personalization. Well, that was before COVID-19. Post-COVID-19, and as we roll into this new normal, I think kiosks and displays are going to be very, very important as we move into the future. First and foremost, you want to create a destination and visibility that you are in this business. So that's what I love about the Bomarito picture here, and about where they have set this up is, hey, they are communicating to their buyers. They are in the business to personalize their vehicle. Product displays, I've seen all kinds of different product displays over the years, and here's my tips and tricks for product displays. One, rotate those products every 90 days. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a store and on the walls are products that were for vehicles 5 years old, and they are dusty, and the card that displays the price is faded with the sunlight, and it doesn't look like anyone has touched it in years, right? So you've got to rotate those products every 90 days because you want it to have a fresh look, and you also don't want it to get stale. You want to keep it current to the vehicles you've got on your showroom floor. You definitely want to display pricing. There's lots of different thoughts in that. Display the installed price for sure. You could always display a suggested price per month, and there is where the debate happens. Happy to debate that offline. Remove items from boxes if possible. Yes, a lot of times I'll just see a beautiful box that has the OEM logo, and it's a bug shield, and it says bug shield on it, but it's a brown or a gray or a white box, and it just says bug shield. Well, what the heck is that? So you got to get those things out of the box, put them up on the wall so that we can see them. Obviously, you want to be very careful about lossage, so you're not having people rip them off the wall and take them home. So you can do lots of different ways to control that lossage, and displays are important. Kiosks. Why are kiosks going to be important, I think, moving forward out of this? Well, number one, a key factor in using our system and any electronic cataloging system is a place to use it. Most of the time we were saying, hey, just use the salesperson's computer sitting on their desk. It's an easy transition. Hand that mouse over, give them the keyboard, and let them rock and roll. Well, couple of reasons why you're not going to do that anymore. One, you don't want to be handing a keyboard over to a customer, and you don't want to get a keyboard back. I don't think I want to be a salesperson in a store passing my keyboard around to various different customers. So we're going to have a destination where a customer can interact with your accessories system, whether you use ours or the other ones that are out there. And you're going to need a way for them to interact with it. Kiosk is a great way to have a silent salesman sitting there, always on the showroom floor, available for any customer, whether it's service or sales, a place near your display. So now you've got a great destination to have your customer be moved to. So moving a customer around in this new environment, I think, is going to be also important. And then coming up with a way to clean that on a regular basis. So if somebody uses it, have somebody, perhaps the receptionist, perhaps the counter person at the parts department, or one of the sales folks that sits close to it. Their job is to keep an eye on it, wipe it down with a Clorox wipe or anything like that, and off you go. So, and you can even put a little Clorox thing there, because I bet conscientious customers are going to come up. If they see a little Clorox thing, they'll take it out, they'll wipe it down themselves, they'll use it, and then they'll wipe it down again. So, so kiosks, I think, are going to be a great opportunity to engage your customers, keep them engaged in the showroom. And quite frankly, I think that showrooms they're gonna have to use that space a lot more smartly going forward, or smarter going forward. And having a destination for vehicle personalization is a great way to do that in your showroom. Okay, so again, we're loving the comments and all the feedback that we're getting from our audience out there. If you have any questions today, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm going to say on the live cast, because I know he's listening, Cameron, I'm not seeing any of the comments. So what I might have to do is, or if there are any comments so far, what I might have to do is take a timeout here and roll up my phone and get it on. So anyway, now on to our guests. So funny story, about 5 minutes before our live cast, I got a email from one of our guests, Eric Gonzalez, from LaFontaine Subaru up in Michigan. And he said, hey, I'm running late. Someone set an appointment for me and I've got a customer coming in. Well, Eric, we're going to give you the ultimate pass ever. He might jump into our show. I told him to go ahead and just try to drop in if he can. So we only have one guest today, and that is Jeff Johnson, and I'm going to bring him on now. Hello, Jeff.
Good afternoon, David.
Excellent, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here.
So that's always great news when you have a guest who sells cars for a living and he can't join your show because he's selling a car. So that's we'll give him a pass, right?
Right, exactly. Nothing starts without selling a vehicle.
That's right. So for our audience, this is Jeff Johnson. He is the general manager. I'll let him tell you a little bit more about himself, but he is the general manager of the Charlotte Jaguar Land Rover store. And I've known Jeff now for about 4 years. Really enjoyed watching his store grow in the vehicle personalization process, which we'll talk about. So before I just go on and on about you, Jeff, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure, happy to. Jeff Johnson. I'm the general manager with Jaguar Land Rover Charlotte in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been with the store in various roles for 21 years. And so we only have one here. I've held various positions as far as from sales to F&I to the used and new car manager, and now currently the general manager. So I've spent my entire career with this one dealership, and it's been exciting to see how far it's come.
So first and foremost, that's what I would like to impress upon our audience is one of the things I admire about your store is that now for about 3 years of visiting that store and working with you and working with our consultants in that store, your sales department hardly turns over. I mean, I think in all of that time, we've had one additional salesperson come on board that I can think of. And so consistency has got to be, and you're the kind of the testament to it. I didn't know you were at that store all those years. You've got to be a testament to it. But I mean, you obviously build that loyalty and build that consistency. So first and foremost, I'm going to put you on the hot spot. What do you think you do right in keeping your sales team together for such a long period of time?
Well, yeah, we've certainly been blessed with a tenured sales team for sure. You know, I think a lot of it starts with our sales managers. How we take care of our people is basically a Hendrick Automotive Group core value in itself. You know, I think the product has a lot to do with it. We have people who are really enthusiastic about the Jaguar and Land Rover product versus something that you wouldn't be excited about talking, you know, options and packages and features and benefits. And Land Rover and Jaguar having such a storied history and heritage to it, I think really brings out the emotion and the excitement in wanting to sell the vehicles.
Awesome. Yep, I agree. So let's take us back a couple of weeks. And I know that when this all thing went down, you were one of my first calls because I call on your store due to proximity. So I called you and I said, how's it going? And I was just, you know, absolutely cringing. And I'm not going to say that you were like, hey, it's just a normal Wednesday, you know, and at the same time, your attitude and your team's attitude was great. And so talk me through the last several weeks, if you will, of how you guys adjusted to this and just sort of motored on and now what you're seeing as you're coming out of the last 2-3 weeks.
Sure. So yeah, April was difficult. It was challenging. Can't lie about that. I'm sure there's folks out there across the country who had a similar experience in April. For the most part, we were just trying to keep our people positive, motivated. The company made a concerted effort not to lose anybody or furlough anyone. So we've been supplementing their pay, and will continue to do so through June 20th.
Nice.
And so basically our objective is just to get all you can get as many sales as you can get, sell an extra part, sell an extra, labor hour in the service department, sell an extra accessory. Just do your best to get everything you possibly can. There's really no performance plan. We've set up our own internal objectives for our store, even though the factory and our automotive group has taken those off the table as far as a performance plan or budget. But for the most part, I would just say that we've gone to a split shift, which recently we've now come back full staff. But we did split shifts through the end of March and all through April. And as of May 8th, once we went into a phase 2 in Mecklenburg County that surrounds Charlotte, we've been full steam ahead, and May has been really a nice bounce back month for us.
That's excellent. It's great to hear. And do you think that bounce back was just the pent up demand that didn't materialize, obviously, because everybody was sitting at home in April? Or do you think there was some other force at play that, well, let me ask that first question. Can you explain the May bounce, or is it just, good luck?
Well, I have my own opinions and theories on it. I think
that's why we're here.
Most of it is that people were extremely scared. I was scared in April. But after going through something like we've gone through in April, I think people get more comfortable with how to manage and handle the coronavirus that's going on, how to take those precautions, get comfortable with those precautions. We, for about 6 to 8 weeks, we've been supplying our customers with masks if they want them, gloves if they want them, trying to make them as comfortable and safe as they possibly can be if they are inclined to come visit the store. So I think May brought around just people that were not so much as scared, but more comfortable with dealing what it is we're going through right now.
Yeah, excellent. So just take a quick moment to our audience. We've got a great audience on Facebook, I see. We are getting some comments through there. They're not showing up on my screen, and I'm able to kind of go through some of these. So I'll continue to go through them as we're going back and forth and asking and answering questions. So we appreciate the comments. Kevin, great to see you again, sir. We're going to have you on the show here shortly. And that Kevin's was the post. Kevin, I'll have to get the right pronunciation. I'm going to butcher it. So I'm going to say Wanner. Kevin Wanner. So thank you, sir, for being a great participant for us and sending us that image for Bommarito. So, one of the things I've asked the guests in the past, and we're sort of working backwards through some of these questions, is that the expectation going forward for June and July and a hot summer is that there is this pent-up demand, and that we're going to see this sort of a wave of new car sales through June and July. One of the topics that's been talked about, I'm very interested in your take, is sort of a retake on cash for clunkers. Personally, based upon my history in the automotive industry and as a more of an observer than anything else and participant from a vendor standpoint, cash for clunkers was great for that situation. It had some goods and bads, but for by and large, it was marked as something that most folks felt it had a positive impact. Do you feel like that's a positive impact that's going to happen now, and almost feels like that's gas on the fire if that wave does come? What are your thoughts on those two takes, cash for clunkers and a wave that may or may not come?
I mean, I'd be all for, whatever we can do to sort of give a shot in the arm to new car sales. Certainly, I mean, we're probably about 15 to 20% from where we were pre-COVID-19.
Okay.
So I mean, we still have a ways to go. May's a good start, but I feel as though um, with with airlines going through what they're going through, I think you'll have a lot of folks wanting to travel in their vehicles this summer. They
Yeah.
feel compelled to get out of the house as long as they're doing it safely and responsibly. And what better way to do it than to road trip or get into a vehicle that accommodates them, have the right accessories on it in order to handle their luggage, equipment, camping gear, things of that nature, their bikes and so on. And, I feel as though that that I think we're really going to see a nice spike in not only car sales, but just interest in
Yep.
trying to sell their vehicles. In other words, trade them, take advantage of some 0% opportunities that are
Yep.
going on, in just about every brand that I'm aware of. And, I really feel as though we can get back to where we were in 30 to 60 days time.
Nice. Good. Now, I know that the situation in North Carolina has been handled differently than, the Northeast and let's say Texas or the Northwest, just as, geographic locations. Um, so certainly some of the audience could be saying, well, geez, Lucky Jeff, he had a situation where, he was having customers still come in. What was it like in those that first couple of weeks in terms of, were you just doing phone appointments? Did you have people coming in at all? Or are you just mainly doing it over the phone? And then how is that sort of laxed up? And as the governor of North Carolina has opened things up, how's that transition happened for you guys?
Yeah. So yeah, terrible situation, and obviously different parts of the country that doesn't really relate to North Carolina. But for us in our region, we were primarily handling everything through phone, internet, email, text, things of that nature, trying to do as much of the transaction, answer people's questions virtually and remotely as possible. We also had, when we went to the split staff for our sales team, it wasn't that they were off necessarily, they were just working from home. They were still expected to respond to customers, be online, with their laptops from the home,
Okay.
and do everything they can to get as much of the transaction to the point where it was now time to do the paperwork and finalize the transaction.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what it's turned into is now by appointment only. So as it gets freed up, yes, if somebody's compelled to come out to the store, we've turned away people who weren't on the appointment log. They would just roll up thinking it was a tire kicking situation, and it's really not that kind of environment. So we would, some people get upset, some people understood, but at the same time, if we were to be either cited or caught,
Sure.
without somebody syncing up that they had an appointment and that they're physically at the dealership, that could be costly. And so we've tried to, we've done everything we've needed to do to play by the rules and do it by the book. So as of recently, as of May 8th, which I mentioned before, they've lifted the appointment only criteria. But at the same time, any vehicle that's demoed or driven around the block, we are not allowed to drive with that person. They have to wear gloves, provide them a mask if they don't have one. And then once they're returned from the test drive, we are required to disinfect the car and in April was to be a quarantine for 72 hours. They've also lifted that. So once we sanitize the car now in April, it can be brought back to the front line and, ready for sale. But yeah, it's been quite a juggling act, trying to sift through all the different rules and still be accommodating and provide a safe environment for our customers to visit.
So specific to our target of vehicle personalization, if you'll remember that first call again, after I went, "How are you guys doing?" and I was waiting for a big thud over the phone. We got right into it about, okay, so now we have this, very strange, awkward process. We're trying to work this out over the phone. How do we best present accessories? And that's where you and I went through the whole process, using your website, having the salesperson go to the website, go through the process with the person over the phone, walk them through it. So tell me how that was received by your team and how you continued to help that process, especially, a lot of times, what we're trying to do is make sure a process is adhered to. I think this is probably the first time you've had to deal with salespeople working from home, talking to customers. So that's a whole nother wrinkle in making sure the process is adhered to. So what were the things that you did to not only support your team carrying the process on, but also just making sure that process happened?
So a lot of it, when you're referencing the process, a lot of it's training too, and making the sales team aware of how to utilize the tools that are out there for them, and then how to walk the customer through utilizing it as well. So when you had pointed out the special tab or location on each of our websites that was accessible for the customer to shop, and even for the sales representative to walk the person through it, even if they were on the phone. Click on this. If you see this come up, select the model year of your vehicle, select on the all accessories. It made it very simple as it's ever been, to try and present personalization items to the customer where they can actually see them on the vehicle. But with the split schedule that we had, the training didn't go obviously as quickly or efficiently as possible. We could only train them as we saw them. So it took a little longer than expected. And, we were on quite a roll, year to date until March. And we were on a pretty decent pace. And so what we've decided to do as well, once we're out of this situation, at least for the most part, and seeing the rebound, is we've made a concerted effort now to include the registering of the customers on the website, along with the amount of accessories someone sells. We give them a spiff on the dollar amount of accessories they sell. We're going to incorporate the registering of the customer along with the dollar amount that they sell right into the salesperson's pay plan. Excellent. That's just going to be, one of the qualifiers to get paid at the end of the month. And we feel as though that will drive not only presenting the product, but the behavior that these accessories are important. And like we've spoken about before, these people are going to spend the money on accessories somewhere, and it should be with you. So we've gone through the training of why you would want an OEM accessory installed by the authorized dealer. For North Carolina, the sales rate is less than if they bought it after the transaction. Mm-hmm. And of course, it carries with it the full warranty when installed at the time of purchase. And so there's really no reason to wait or refuse to present the accessories to the customer, because it's something that they will find value in.
Well, and you brought up a great point, which wasn't even on our questions, which has to do with the pay plans and how important it is to incorporate that process and reinforce that process in the pay plan. So what you've done here is incorporate a key step in the process with your pay plan. As those that are on our system, and they know that registering is a key part of the stage of our process that we promote. And so what you've done is you've incorporated that with that. Tell me about the different things that you've tried over the years, sort of being humble, and as we all, share good information. Tell me some of the things that you've tried over the years and this is totally off script, so I hope I'm not totally throwing you off, but you hit on a great topic that I'd love to cover with you. Back to what my question is, what are the things that you've tried that didn't work, that maybe you could tell another general managers out there that's watching to say, oh yeah, I tried that, doesn't work? Has any things come to mind?
Yeah. That is a tough question. Things we've tried in the past, I think it comes down to the process. You need to really have somebody, whether it's the sales manager, whether it's one of your lead or top sales producers, to sort of spearhead the process. Who's involved? Who's getting notified? It's one of those things where it's like, hey, we implemented it, but who's really steering the ship? Who's really taking care of this and holding people accountable, inspecting what is going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So if any one of the steps in the process is not connected, when we were getting up and running on the Insignia tool, the internal service advisor might not know that anybody needs a roof rack installed. So they need to be in the loop. The shop foreman needs to be in the loop. The parts department needs to be in the loop. The service manager needs to be in the loop. So I would just say that in having gone through many scenarios of that, I would just make sure your process is airtight, that everyone who needs to be involved is involved, because it's very easy to overlook something like, the salesperson sells an accessory, lets the sales manager sign off on it. And then does the salesperson really know what to do with it? Do they know who to bring it to? Who's going to initiate the repair order in order to get anything rolling through the shop in the first place? And then does the part department know we need that accessory? Is it on the shelf? Does it need to be overnighted? When is the vehicle being delivered? So it's a massive, communication thing, along with making sure your process is dialed in.
Yeah, great. Excellent. So a couple of, let's see, one question that you can think about, and we'll ask a couple of questions from the audience. So one specific question was, were there any specific stories over the last, or examples, not stories, but examples over the last, let's say, 6 weeks of where a customer came in and upfitted a new Land Rover, or, a good success story for a salesperson during these times that had to do with an accessory sale?
In the last 6 weeks, there've been a few. Even in April, I think, we had before COVID-19, we were up and around the $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 in accessory sales a month, which we're trying to get into that 15 to 20 mark if we really want to move the needle. But I think April was fairly decent for us. I mean, it was better than we could have imagined under the circumstances.
Yeah.
I think we ended up having about 7,000 to 8,000 in accessory sales in April, and I haven't looked at the month to date here in May yet, as we start to close down the month. But deployable running boards has been, we've sold 2 sets of those, which has been, that's an immediate shot in the arm there.
Definitely.
Because they are a bit more on the expensive side. Trailer hitches, for bike racks, or any attachments that go onto those have been popular as well.
That goes back to your sentiment earlier about folks staying close to home-ish, not getting on airplanes maybe to go vacation, but packing up the car and putting something on the trailer hitch and going on vacation. So that definitely supports that sentiment.
Absolutely, yeah. And the sort of the flip side to that is certain accessories that we were trying to get were cut off and quarantined coming out of the UK, and some of our parts distribution that were not up and running because a lot of our locations are up in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, during that time, and no one was there. to ship us any accessories or parts that we may have needed. So it put a little bit of constraint on that as far as owing that customer that accessory down the road. But again, just comes down to communication and making sure that once that accessory arrives, the parts department is communicating that to set up the appointment to bring that customer back in to have it installed.
Yeah, perfect. Here's another great question from Art Harding. He says, after registering the client either on the site or off the site, is it best to walk the customer through the site or just let them shop? And boy, I think you know my answer, which I've tried to drill into your guys' head. What would my answer be to that? and what do you guys do there? Because I know that you do it what's in my head.
Right. So yeah, I believe your answer would be you just let the customer shop.
Amen.
Make it a very low pressure, leisurely experience, just like they would do on Amazon Prime, or you get into looking at some different things, and sometimes the customer, they shop the way they want to shop. Not They don't want to be instructed on what to look at and where to direct their eyes, in my opinion. So that's how we've trained our folks. Is here's how you get to the site. Here's how you access it. Here's where we think is a good beginning point to just click on all accessories. Perfect. And let me know if you have any questions about anything. Yeah. And just let them do their thing and circle back around either later in the day or the next day to see if there's anything we can add to their vehicle before printing up the paperwork, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the highlight here is that in our current situation, when you've got a salesperson who may introduce the site over the phone, they're not going to be able to sit there and see unless they do a screen share, which would be, pretty technical. But I think they're not going to see the customer screen, and they're going to say, hey, put in your vehicle. Oh, by the way, it will show you some of the accessories, what they look like on the vehicle, and then click there for all accessories. Let me know if you see something. So I think getting in that behavior now more than ever is the best way to do that, because then you're really allowing the customer to go to where they wanted to go before you made up the determination of where you wanted them to go. So I know there's a lot of tactics in selling the vehicle that you're trying to take them down a path, and you're trying to get them to where you want them to go. And accessories is a totally different sale. You've really got to open that up and let them discover, oh, I was going to get that, and I didn't know that you offered it. So, and a huge attaboy for a couple of deployable side steps. Those are big wins there. Those are nice home runs, out of the park home runs. So great questions there. I'm gonna go back to our scripted questions and let one that you may have prepared a little bit easier. One of the big factors prior to COVID, and now I think maybe a factor going forward, is that dance between the sales department and the F&I department when it comes to vehicle personalization. I know your store does a great job. So in the process of getting that customer through the buying process and ready to sell ready to come in to do the paperwork, has there been any changes for you guys in terms of how the F&I manager interacts with the salesperson? Is it a complete TO? Do they go back and forth? And has there been any interference with, presenting and offering accessories with that?
There really hasn't. No, we have basically a big tablet that's on the F&I producer's desk called DocuPad. That's a digital signing, sort of an e-contracting type of setup. And unless somebody is waiting on getting accessories installed, just making sure that the salesperson through the desking manager has included those accessories, that there isn't any unexpected, roadblocks or obstacles that the F&I manager needs to overcome when it comes to accessories. We try to take that away from F&I because that's not really their forte. So we just ask that between the salesperson and the desk manager, that they make sure that the accessories are included, that F&I is aware of them, because whether it's a finance or a lease or just an outright cash purchase, we want to make sure they're being accounted for, that they're either residualized in the lease or that they're part of the overall transaction. That F&I doesn't necessarily need to govern or oversee. It should already be ready to go when F&I gets involved at that point.
Great, excellent. And then last question, and then we'll maybe check one more question off of here, and then we'll wrap up the show. Unfortunately, it looks like Greg's selling a car. So he won't be joining us. He hasn't joined us yet, so he must be selling a car. So good on him. We'll have him on another episode. And thanks for being a champ with this riding solo. Usually it's really nice to have two people, so you can kind of go back and forth. You have a little time, and you can think through some answers as they're asked. But you've done a masterful job of thinking on your feet, and I threw you a couple curveballs, and I appreciate that. So I did want to ask you, obviously, we're all thinking about this situation and trying to be good corporate stewards and be, good corporate folks in the community. I know Hendrick's very involved with the community. Is there anything that you'd like to let us know that the Hendrick's organization has done through this that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, so we've done a couple of things. We've done a Heroes campaign throughout April, and it's still going on through the end of this month, where any first responder or medical official, doctors, nurses, in the areas that we do business throughout the country, we ask that they bring their car in, and we disinfect it for them free of charge.
Nice.
We take care of that. We've actually had one surgeon say, "Can I bring it back just once a week, so I can make sure that my car's not being infected when I drive to and from work?"
Wow.
And so we have a chemical and fogger that we use and mist throughout the vehicles, let it sit for, it's about 10 or 15 minutes, and kills the virus if it were in the vehicle, and we spray it throughout the entire cabin area. And so we've gotten a lot of response and a lot of just thankfulness, gratitude, from that we can help them out, because they're the ones that are keeping us safe each and every day, from EMTs to so it's been nice, getting to know people we otherwise wouldn't have met. Some people, I'm at the Jaguar Land Rover store, but somebody with a Toyota swings by and says, "Hey, saw this running on the commercial," and they provide their credentials, and we take care of them, and just allowing us to thank them for what they do, on a daily basis, because they're the ones out there having to handle it day in and day out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another thing that we've done as well is we're calling it a road ready campaign. So basically, again, free of charge, we're inspecting the voltage in the battery, tire pressures, the AC, just doing an overall check on a few of those items to make sure their car's road ready, because we're anticipating through this past Memorial Day, with summer coming up, 4th of July, that people will need their vehicles ready to travel and do what they want to do, without necessarily being quarantined at home. As things start to free up and open, people we feel as though they're going to want to utilize their vehicles to do the things they'd like to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those are two great programs, and I wanted to give you a comment, because I know you're not on Facebook, that Joe Wagner, great friend of Insignia up in the Northeast, it says, "Thank you for your time, Jeff Johnson. It was uplifting for someone in the Northeast accessories business." So I just want to make sure you got that read to you. We've got other great comments. I see a couple of additional follow-ups from art regarding tablets and desktops and kiosks. I think going forward, Art, just to speak on camera, I think we're going to find that we're going to use a lot more tablets, a lot more kiosks, a lot less desktops. Unfortunately, one of the values that we always thought of our system is that it could run anywhere. So that's still a value. And it was just nice to be able to take advantage of the technology that was already in the dealership. So more than likely, just like all other businesses, we're going to have to somehow disinfect so many of the things that we were so used to using in the workplace that I think we're going to have to do more of those types of tablets and kiosks in showrooms and stuff like that. So I'll ask you, Jeff, put you on the spot again. Last question. Have you guys thought through that in terms of your bringing people back in, cleanliness on the computers, that kind of thing, tablets versus a kiosk? Have you guys tackled that quite yet?
Well, yeah, we have. We made the initial investment with the tablets. We use the tablets sort of twofold. We use those for appraisals, vehicle appraisals as well, and also have the Insignia websites and our own Jaguar and Land Rover websites, preloaded on the tablets as well. So it's real easy that if you're using gloves or if you have wipes handy, once the customer or the sales personnel's finished using it, you go ahead and wipe it down or spray it down and have it ready for the next person's use.
Yeah,
and,
great.
So yeah, I mean, we're sort of challenged being between two rooftops. So we just ended up purchasing 3 tablets per store, so that there's plenty. We keep them centrally located in each of the sales manager's office, so everybody knows right where to go to find one. And it seems that it's worked out well versus having the customer sit in the salesperson's seat at their own desktop computer.
Perfect.
And so yeah.
Perfect. Jeff, thank you again. We really appreciate you being on our series here. Are You There? Engaging customers beyond the showroom. I thought the conversation went great. We got lots of great comments and questions through the Facebook side of things. I think we had one of our representatives on the YouTube side of things answering questions. So sorry we weren't able to read those. We're still figuring out all this technical stuff here. So keep coming back, subscribe to our channels. And our next episode is planned for June 10th, where we probably will invite Eric Gonzalez to come back along with someone else. So this is Jeff Johnson here, and I'm David Stringer. Again, go online, subscribe. Oh, we have a new podcast coming out from the podcast Next Up Accessories, where we talk to people that are very close to the sales department. So we have Eric Gonzalez. We've already recorded it, so he couldn't sell a car during that time, but we already recorded it. It's in post-production. It'll launch in the next couple of weeks. So check that podcast out, as well as our other guests on that podcast. So thank you again, Jeff, and we will see you in 2 weeks, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thanks, David. Stay well.
You too. Thanks.